Yo guys, what is going on? Got a 2.5 rulings video for you guys. Sorry this one's a little bit late, but we got a bunch of decks to get through. RP Imperial, Ghost, Royal Knights, you name it, we're covering it. So let's go ahead and get started. With this deck specifically, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Number one, let's talk about the Dinobee from BT16. Now this isn't necessarily a new card, but since this deck I think comes into the forefront a little bit with this meta, we're going to go ahead and talk about it. So Dinobee is a purple-red DNA Digimon, so of course just like normal we can go ahead and DNA Digivolve. And then it's got this on Digivolving effect where it says if DNA Digivolving, you may play level 5 or lower free trait from your trash without paying the cost. So in this case, let's go ahead and target this Paildramon here. It is a level 5 or lower, it's free trait, so we can go ahead and play it. And then we need to resolve the Dinobee effect where it says then one of your Digimon may gain rush for the turn and attack a player. And I want to emphasize that this last part of the effect has been errated, so this text doesn't really represent what the effect is trying to say. What it means is that the entire effect is optional. It's not saying give something rush and then you can choose to attack with it or not. It's saying you can give something this effect, but if you give it this effect, it gains rush and has to attack the player. So typically what you'll do is you'll go ahead and play out the Paildramon, and then what you can do is, okay, we can go ahead and give Paildramon rush and attack the player. It's going to go ahead and declare the attack, and then Paildramon's on play also triggers where it says for the turn, one of your Digimon gains piercing 4,000, and then this Digimon may attack. So that's all good. If we do it in the other order though, let's say we go ahead and give the Dinobee rush and then attack, because let's say in the case of, okay, we're passing over turn with this play, like let's say we had done this play where we went Digivolve, like we started 0, Digivolve this Shadramon for 2 where it says we can DNA something, so then passing over 2 to our opponent, we go ahead and DNA Digivolve, and then we use Dinobee effect where it says, okay, play the Paildramon, and then we're going to declare the attack with the Dinobee where it says it gains rush and attack. Of course, the rush doesn't matter since it can already attack. We're going to go ahead and declare attack at the player, and then of course the when attacking in this scenario will trigger at the same time as Paildramon's on play. Then Paildramon's on play says you can give something piercing 4,000, then this Digimon may attack. However, this Digimon can't actually declare the attack for, well, 2 reasons. Number one, it doesn't have rush, so it couldn't anyways. But number 2, we're already in the middle of attack with Dinobee, so you can't like, okay, we'll go ahead and declare attack with Paildramon as well, and then like double check security or something. So in this case, it's pretty optimal to just, okay, give the 4,000 piercing to the Dinobee, and then this is just another body that sits here. But that's kind of the second part I wanted to talk about, is interrupting attacks with this deck. So then let's say we go ahead and swing security. What we can do is, let's say we check security, we have some random security check that doesn't matter, okay, and then all effects have resolved, and then we've got this end of turn DNA effect from Shadramon, so then we can go ahead and end of turn, DNA Digivolve, go into the Imperial Dragon mode here, and then this says when Digivolving, DNA Digivolving, blow up the field, and then Blitz, so then we can go ahead and declare an attack, and then of course the bread and butter play is to then go ahead and Digivolve into the Imperial Fighter mode, for the cost of 2, trashing a security, popping something, and then going about our day. Okay, that's all fine and dandy, but what about in the scenario where, let's say we hit something big in security, oh, I don't know, like this Nidhoggmon, so let's say same thing, end of turn, or sorry, when Digivolving from Dinobee, we swing security, and then we check this Nidhogg. Now, of course, we are only 10k. Let's say in this case we had given the 4,000 to Paildramon, so let's say we're only 10k and we're smaller than this Nidhogg. We're going to go ahead and die my battle. Of course, we can't partition, but what we can do is use the Paildramon all turns where it says when any of your Paildramon or Dinobee would be deleted, you can DNA into a Dragon mode from hand. Now, this also specifies it needs to be 2 Digimon on field. You can't like DNA 1 from field and 1 from hand. It doesn't specifically say like do that sort of DNA. So what we're going to do here is to prevent the deletion, or not even to prevent the deletion, sorry, just when it would be deleted, interrupting that, we're going to go ahead and Digivolve into the Dragon mode here, and then that resolves. And then now the thing is, we can go ahead and use the when Digivolving of Imperial Dragon mode to blow up the field. However, we cannot blitz because the attack from the Dinobee still hasn't fully resolved, because we hit the step of I guess, attack step in Digimon. I don't know if there's a specific term for it, but basically, because we resulted something from a battle, an effect happened from a battle, being the interruptive effect of Paildramon, and then the news trigger is now Dragon Mode, we still haven't actually reached the end of attack step and finish resolving all effects. What I mean by that is I'll put up a picture of the attack flowchart at some point on the screen, somewhere on the screen here, but what we need to do is reach the end of the attack step, resolving the end of attack effects, and then no other pending effects have to be going on. However, in this case, before we got to the end of attack, the Dinobeemon was about to be deleted, so then now the news trigger was the Paildramon, and then the news trigger after that was the Dragon Mode, and so we are technically still in the middle of an attack, so we can't actually then blitz, and then in this case go into Dragon Mode, and Dragon Mode into Fighter Mode, burn the last security, and go for game. So a little bit complicated, I guess, but what I want to stress is just keep in mind you can't interrupt ongoing attacks with a new attack. Okay, so that is pretty much it for Red Purple Imperial. Okay, the next deck I want to talk about is a personal favorite of mine, but that's going to be, for lack of a better term, Ghosts or Necromon. So a couple things. Number one, we have access to the new keyword Execute, where it says at the end of your turn, this Digimon may attack. At the end of that attack, delete this Digimon. And then you can also choose Unsuspended Digimon for the attack target with this attack. Okay, now keep in mind the first thing, I guess, is number one, this effect doesn't ignore Rush or Summoning Sickness. If the Digimon with Execute was played that turn, you can't actually declare the attack. You need some way to give Rush, or it has to have been on the field already. Okay. The next part is, okay, of course we can attack into Unsuspended Digimon. So let's say for this turn we start at maybe 2 memory here. We're going to go ahead and Digivolve the Necromon into, the Metal Phantomon into Necromon. And then we've got on play 1 Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level. So in this case, we can go ahead and delete this Dinobeemon. And then now no other effects are pending. So then we're going to end of turn timing, which is then we're going to trigger Execute. So then we can go ahead and declare an attack. And it doesn't actually have to be at a Digimon. It can be wherever. So we're going to go ahead, swing security, do our 2 security checks, etc. So in this case, we go ahead and check security. Okay, 7K. Now don't ask me why they're playing Dinobeemon and Velgramon, but whatever, you get the drill. And then at the end of the attack, we're going to delete the stack. Then we've got a bunch of on-deletion triggers. We've got Analog. We've got the on-deletion to play a level 5 Ghost. We've got the on-deletion to Digivolve something, delete a 4, gain a memory, return something. Okay, so we've got a bunch of on-deletion effects. That's kind of what the deck wants to do. The next thing I want to mention is, of course, the Reapermon, which is actually a ghost type despite also being a cyborg. This card's really cool because what you can do is kind of use it to play around aces. And what I mean by that is this all turns when affects Digimon, Digivolve your opponent's Digimon, de-Digivolve one of them. So in this case, let's say we do the same scenario, but let's say they've got like 2 things on field. So let's say, like, I don't know, Velgar Dinobee, and then we go ahead and Digivolve Necromon, delete the lowest level. So we're going to delete the Velgramon here, and then we're going to go ahead at end of turn, declare an attack at security, and our opponent has access to the Imperial Dragon Mode Ace with a Dinobee on field and a Paildramon in hand. So what they can do is go ahead and blast a DNA Digivolve. So what they can do is go ahead and stack those guys, Digivolve, draw, and then their effect from the Dragon Mode is pending, but also because the effect of Blast Digivolution is what evolved their Dragon Mode here, Reapermon will also trigger. So what we can do is then de-Digivolve the Dragon Mode, immediately gaining back 4 from the Overflow, and then now the Dragon Mode's effect would resolve, but because that card is no longer on the field, it won't actually get to resolve. This is similar to if you guys had played any blue-green Imperial. This is similar to how you could play around aces with something like the Imperial Dragon Mode interaction, Digivolving to a Fighter Mode, bottom decking their aces before they get to resolve their effect. So then now we've got no threat from this. We can't get scammed by this Fighter Mode or anything here. And then in this case, even though we did gain back turn, the attack was already declared, so then we would just go ahead and declare at security. Even if, for example, our opponent had another Dragon Mode in hand, they couldn't ace again, for example, because it's only once per attack. And then, yeah, in this case, we would just actually win the game. But yeah, so Reapermon is a really, really cool card. And then the last thing I want to talk about, I'm not going to go super into depth with how you resolve all these on deletions or anything. I feel like nothing about that is particularly new to set 2.5. But the last thing I want to mention is going to be the Apparition Legion option card. This is a really cool option card. It's liberated or traded, so it's searchable by the deck. And it says by returning up to 9 levels worth of Digimon cards from opponent's trash to the bottom of the deck, you may play a ghost for each of that returned level Digimon with equal level, if that makes sense. I don't know if I explained that correctly, but basically, like, let's say if you returned, I don't know, like, so in this case, let's say our opponent's trash had like all these cards. So you could target any combination of, let's say, a 3 and a 3, or a 5 and a 4, or a 6 and a 3. Okay, so or I guess you'd need like 3 of these 3. So these are like your 3 combinations of Digimon that would actually get you to resolve Apparition Legion. And then you'd be able to, let's say we did 4 and a 5, we could play out a 4 and a 5 from our trash. And then let's say if they had returned like a 6 and a 3, or like we chose to return a 6 3, let's say they had Guilmon, Nidhogg, and trash, then what we could do is play out a 6 and a 3. And then they also gain Rush Blocker until the end of our opponent's turn. So then Rush and Blocker, and then we'd be able to trigger any on plays. And then in this case, like, let's say we started to passing 6, bottom deck the Nidhogg Guilmon, play out the Ghostmon as well as Necromon, get the on plays, pop something, search some cards, and then play out another level 5 or lower. So let's say we played out this, getting an on play, giving something retail, and we at end of turn, and we can like swing with this, for example. Okay, the 2 things I want to mention with this card specifically is, number 1, you cannot return Digi-Eggs with this effect. Okay, I know Digi-Eggs have levels, but you need to keep in mind that Apparition Legion says returning Digimon cards from your opponent's trash, and in any other area aside from the field, Digimon Eggs or Digi-Eggs are the printed card type that they have on the top. They are Digi-Egg cards, not Digimon cards. As you can see, Digimon at the top there, Digi-Egg. Okay. The other thing I want to mention for this card is this card is actually mistranslated. I don't know if this has been caught by a lot of people, but the Japanese text for this card does not say by returning up to 9 levels. It says by returning levels until you reach 9. So you actually have to pay, the cost of the effect is returning 9 levels. If you don't reach exactly 9, you can't actually resolve this option card. That's one of the things I want to mention. So let's say your opponent's trash is only like Guilmon plus Velgar. That level total only reaches 7, so you can't actually bottom deck these, and you can't actually play anything out. Because you're not actually able to meet the trigger condition, so to speak, of this effect. Okay, so that's pretty much it for Ghosts. Really, really cool deck. I'll probably have a full guide or deck list or gameplay or something at some point. Maybe, I don't know. I don't really make that many videos anymore, so I shouldn't even promise you that. But anyways, let's go on to the next deck. Okay, and then of course this is not a new deck by any means. We're going to be talking about Royal Knights, but they did get lots of really good support in the newest set. So the real main thing I want to talk about, because I guess it's the only really confusing thing, at least in some scenarios, is going to be Omekamon and Omnimon X. Okay, this combo is so disgusting, but anyways. So the new Omekamon says, on play, if you have 1 or fewer security cards, this Digimon may digivolve into Omnimon X, ignoring Digivolution requirements and not paying the cost. This card is also treated as the X antibody named option card. So anytime you have like an effect like Omnimon X that says, if Omnimon or X antibodies in this Digimon's Digivolution cards do certain effects. So in this case, it's delete all their Digimon except like one of yours and one of your opponents. So Omekamon, number 1, fulfills that that requirement. It's really, really strong because of that. Okay, and then let's say our opponent's at 1 security, and our opponent has this Yggdrasil stack in their breeding area with Omekamon underneath it, because it has a breeding effect that says when your security stack is removed from by suspending this Digimon, play 1 Omekamon from this Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying the cost. So what it's saying is suspend the Yggdrasil, pop out Omekamon, and then you could do its on play, where if you're at 1 or fewer security, digivolve into Omnimon X, and then so on and so forth. Okay, so let's say our opponent is at 1 security here, and we've got something like either a Reapermon or a Medieval Gallantmon. Either of these work for the purposes of this explanation. But what is going to happen here is, let's say we go ahead and swing security with the Necromon. We're going to do the security check, and let's say, of course, this Omekamon is in stack. We're going to do the security check, and then pending effect before the battle happens is going to be Omekamon here. We've got no other effects that say when an opponent's security stack is removed from him. So then we're going to do Omekamon. Okay, we've got this inherited effect. We're going to pop out the Omekamon for free. And then now we've got the on play from Omekamon that triggers, but since it is my turn, since I declared an attack, my effects actually resolve first. So we've got the on play, the all turns from Medieval Gallantmon that says when a Digimon is played. So that's the same timing as Omekamon. So what we can do is resolve Medieval Gallantmon first to then trigger its on Digivolve to suspend a Digimon. So let's say we go ahead and suspend the Omekamon, and then pop something 8,000 lower, add 3,000 that DP is maximum, blah blah blah. So we're gonna go ahead and pop the Omekamon. So Omekamon is deleted. Now we go back to the Omekamon. Its effect would resolve. It's no longer on the field, so our opponent can't actually Digivolve into this Omnimon X in the hand. And then of course the battle would actually happen, and then Necromon would die since smaller, a bunch of undeletions would happen, but we could just swing for game. Okay, so that's one kind of way you can get around. I like to call it the Mirror Force effect. Me and my friends have been calling this Mirror Force, just because if you resolve this Omnimon X with Omekamon, it's a literal board wipe. It's really crazy. The other way you could do this is, let's say in that case our opponent had popped out, again there's still, this battle is pending, they had popped out the Omekamon. What we can do is, let's say we don't want to use Medieval Gallant, we can let them go ahead and Digivolve into the Omnimon X, but then now their Omnimon X and our Reapermon trigger at the same time, so then what we can do is use the Reapermon to de-Digivolve the Omnimon X back into Omekamon, and then nothing will happen since this thing's on the field anymore. Of course, we'll go ahead and, battle, delete, and same kind of scenario as before, but we've got ways to kind of counteract this. But yeah, this card is really strong. If, for example, we didn't have either of these, because not every deck can, realistically no one's playing Reapermon, but not every deck can really play Medieval Gallantmon. If, for example, in that scenario we didn't have any of those, we'd gone ahead and swung security. Okay, before the battle happens, pop out Omekamon effect, Digivolve Omnimon X. Let's say we go ahead and our opponent chooses our attacking Necromon to not be deleted, then they're going to go ahead and delete these, and then go ahead and bottom deck this one. And in that case, they would pretty much full board wipe us. Now, because we're playing a deck that likes to be deleted, we're not in the worst scenario, because then we have this on deletion to play out a level 5 or lower, so maybe we can keep extending our plays or something. But yeah, that's the power of Omnimon X. It's a really, really strong card, especially in tandem with Omekamon. Okay, and then the last deck I wanted to talk about is absolutely no one's favorite deck, and this shouldn't exist, and I regret that I even have to mention any of these cards, but anyways, we're going to be talking about Tao Loop here, and specifically just how a couple of things resolve in this deck, and how you can kind of order the effects, or how you might need to order the effects depending on what you're playing against. So let's say in this scenario, our opponent has got a Medieval Gallantmon on the field, or just something that triggers when we play or Digivolve by effect, maybe an Imperial Dramon Dragon mode, or Biting Crush or something like that. What we can do is go ahead and go slam this Taomon Ace for a cost of 5 here. And then what we can do is go ahead and start comboing off. What we can do is Digivolve, Digivolution plugin, draw our card here, and then Digivolve into Sakuyamon for a reduce. I don't know why these are so different in size, but anyways, so basically not paying its evolution cost, so draw off that Digivolve, and then what will happen here is Sakuyamon's on Digivolve as well as Rika's both trigger at the same time, so we can choose whatever order to resolve this in. But let's say, for example, we do Sakuyamon's first, then the Rika's will be pending, so we do Sakuyamon, draw 2 cards, and then we use a single colored option. So what we can do is use Kaiser Nail if we had a blue source. So let's say, I don't know, we've got a Kuzuha on field somewhere, and let's just add one to our hand. So let's say we already had a Kuzuha or something, but we need a blue source to play this. So we're going to play Kaiser Nail. What that's going to do is going to pop out the Taomon Ace, and then that will trigger a bunch of effects. So that will trigger Sakuyamon because you played an option. That'll trigger Taomon's on play. That'll trigger Rika again because you used an option, and that'll trigger Medieval Gallantmon because you played something. So then all these effects trigger, but of course the Medieval Gallantmon's going to have to wait. We can once again choose our order. So then let's say we go ahead and what we would want to do is do Taomons first or Rikas first. We wouldn't want to do Sakuyamon, because let's say we do Sakuyamons to play our free blocker token, so we're just going to grab a random token over here. Then when the token is played, the newest trigger now is Medieval Gallantmon once again, because before effects have finished resolving or activating, as long as they meet their trigger condition, even if they're once per turn, they can trigger again. So what this would do if we did Sakuyamon's your turn once per turn effect to play a blocker token now, is we would trigger Medieval Gallantmon, so then they could interrupt us and be like, okay, now Medieval Gallantmon's the newest trigger. Let's say they suspend Sakuya and then pop the Taomon. They would then gain 3 from overflow, and then Taomon's effect wouldn't be able to resolve because it's not on the field. So we definitely don't want that to happen. What we can do is wait on the token because it's still pending along with the Rikas. So let's say all of these 3 effects are pending. What we're going to do is use Taomons on play first to then play an option. And what we could do is just go ahead and use, okay, Noble Family Arts for free, and then we're going to do minus 6,000 to the Medieval, and then since there's more than 3 Digimon at this point, we can give it another minus 6,000, so minus 12,000 here, and then of course this will trigger the Rikas once again, as well as Sakuyamon, but then of course, because the rule check needs to happen, Medieval Gallantmon will die. Then we can go ahead, tap these, gain our 2 memory, and then use Sakuyamon to play out our blocker token, and we're no longer threatened by Medieval Gallantmon. So that's kind of one way you can order your effects in this deck to kind of play around what your opponent's got. One other thing I wanted to mention was specifically, I guess this isn't a Tao Loop card, and it's not even a new card, it's from EX8, newish, I guess, is Sakuyamon X Antibody, and specifically how this works with level 7 Digimon. So let's say we've got a field here, and again, let's say we've got like something like a Digivolution plugin in hand. What we can do is, let's say it's our turn at 2, we can go ahead and Digivolve. Again, I'm sorry for the, I don't know why these things are so big and different in size, but we're going to go ahead and Digivolve Sakuyamon X for a cost of 1, and what we can do is when Digivolving, since we got Sakuyamon underneath it, we can then play out an Ukonomitama token for a, that's a 9,000 rush Digimon, so let's just say we get another token, and FYI, this Kuzuhamon has Sakuyamon in name, but Sakuyamon X specifically says Sakuyamon or X Antibody, so just FYI, if you evolve it over Kuza, you won't actually get this effect to play the token, so what we want to do is evolve it over Sakuya. And then what we can do is, let's say we go ahead and declare our attack. What we can do is then use the your turn effect, where any of your Digimon attack, you may use a single color option with cost 5 or less without paying the cost if you did one of your Digimon unsuspend. So let's say in this case we're going to swing with Sakuyamon X. What we can do is go ahead and use Digivolution plugin, or sorry, not the, in this scenario I want to talk about this, actually doesn't work. Let's say we use Yellow Scramble. So what we're going to do is play Yellow Scramble, resolving Yellow Scramble's effect, where it says you can then Digivolve into a Yellow Digimon for -3. So what we can do is Digivolve into Ruin mode for a cost of 2, because it's -3, so Digivolve draw, and then resolving Yellow Scramble, we're going to then place this in the battle area, and then resolving Sakuyamon X, because this was all part of Sakuyamon X's your turn effect. Then if you did use an option, a single color option, which we did, we're going to go ahead and unsuspend one of our Digimon. So what we can do is just unsuspend the Ruin mode. In this case, you wouldn't really do that. There's no point because it's going to kill itself, end of attack. But in this case, the point is you could Digivolve any level 7, and what you want to do is finish resolving Sakuyamon X's effect, because Scramble was part of the effect, and then you need to resolve this thing even though it's not on the field anymore, but its effect had already triggered. That's the main distinction I want to make, is that there's a difference between some of the other examples I showed, that you can stop an effect from resolving if it leaves the field before the effect had triggered, but in this case Sakuyamon X had already triggered and we were in the middle of resolving it, so you, even no matter what happens to it, it still resolves. Okay, so in that case you would then, okay, swing security. In this case we just won the game, but maybe in the case of, let's say we checked a security card, okay, security check, in this case end of attack would then trigger from Shangreimon Ruin mode, and then we could go about our effects. But yeah guys, that is going to be Tao Loop. And before I forget, of course, because there's always random other cards that I didn't actually get the chance to talk about, last couple cards here, just not tied to a specific example I want to show, but just cards I want to talk about. So number 1, Invisimon, its security effect, quote unquote, is not actually a security trigger, okay? I should distinguish this by just showing you like a Digimon that actually has a security trigger, something like Magnamon, Starter Deck Magnamon. You see here, This has a security trigger box wrapped in blue, and it says to digivolve one Digimon, etc., etc. This is an effect that actually triggers when it is checked in security. Whereas a card like Invisimon, or for example, I don't know, like the Nightmare Soldier option card, or any of the field spells, like these cards that have security all turns or security your turn or whatever. The pink security text box means it is an effect that needs to be in security face up to be active. So that's what Invisimon means. So it's not an effect that triggers when you check Invisimon in security. The next thing I want to talk about was the Your Turn effect, where it says when your opponents, or when your Digimon check face up security cards, you may place the Digimon's top stacked card face up as the bottom security card. What this means is, let's say you have an Invisimon on field with level 5 underneath, you swing security, and you check a security as assuming that security card doesn't have a security effect, you will then reach the pending phase, which is then Invisimon puts itself face up at the bottom of your security, and then the battle which happens between the level 5 that you had that was under Invisimon and then whatever is in security. So in that case, if you hit something big in security, like let's say, I don't know, you hit this Boltmon in security and your level 5 is only like 7,000. You'll do battle with it. If you don't have jamming, you're just going to die. So that's one thing to definitely keep in mind. But of course, you can kind of play around that because Invisimon's effect is that it reveals your opponent's security and you can kind of decide what to do from there. The next card was going to be Koda and Yuji. This is kind of just like a language thing where it's refers to the field, where it says your turn when one of your Chronicle Digimon attacks by suspending this tamer. One of your Digimon in the field may digivolve into level 6, blah, blah, blah. When it says on the field, this is I guess a newer term, but it's already existed. Field includes the battle area and the breeding area. So this card, yes, in fact, you can digivolve your guys into a Chronicle that are in the breeding area. It's one of the few cards that we have so far that actually references that as included in the field. If you look at any Ace text box as an example, like Paildramon Ace says, as this card moves from the field or under a card, lose 4 memory. So when it says the field, it means specifically either the breeding area, if it goes from breeding area to another area, or from the battle area to another area that's not switching between those. For example, with something like King Drazel, or Yggdrasil, sorry. Or no, it's King Drazel in English. Yeah, so King Drazel, where it says, like at the start of your turn, or start of your main phase, you get to suck up all your Royal Knights. So in this case, if you sucked up something like, I don't know, Alphamon or Yukin, which is an ace that has overflow, because it's moving from the field to also the field, or / under a card, you don't actually lose the overflow. So that's another thing I kind of wanted to mention that's kind of relevant to just, Ace rulings and the field in general. And then the last thing is going to be Justimon Blitz Arm Ace. This card's really sick. But this card has a cool one digivolving effect where it says by trashing one option card in the battle area, this Digimon unsuspends. You can trash an option card in your area, in your battle area, or your opponent's battle area. So it's really cool. You can actually get rid of their delays, their memory boosts, their trainings, or just random other delays that their deck needs to function. But then keep in mind, you also have to actually trash a delay to unsuspend. So like, let's say there's no delays in either player's battle area, you don't get the unsuspend. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it for set 2.5. Hopefully that video wasn't too long. But anyways, guys, if you did enjoy, go and let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.